Hello and welcome to our first edition of the River of Souls 20-man raid instance. Today we will show you Warmaster Galenir and what you need to know about him, as well as our strategy for this fight. Here we use 2 tanks, 7 support, and 11 DPS. Before your tank pulls Galenir, you'll need to designate 2 members of the raid to stand on opposite sides of the boss and constantly maintain a distance further from the boss than the rest of the raid. We use 2 Chloromancers for this. While the 2 separated raid members position themselves opposite and max range from each other, the tank should pull Galenir to the center of the room and face him towards one of these assigned raid members. The remainder of the raid should fall in behind the boss. This is all in preparation for when Galenir begins his flurry of charges on the target furthest from him. When this happens, there should be minimal movement by the raid, including tanks and raid members assigned to provoke his charge. Directly after his flurry of charges, Galenir transforms into his werewolf form. He will now use Howl of Death and Howl of Empowerment, which will inflict AoE damage amongst the raid, as well as having a 10% damage reduction. The only way to remove him from his werewolf form is to kill the Mode of Calm that spawns and place the boss in the AoE it drops. It needs to be noted that his charge applies the debuff Discordant Infestation to whomever is charged. This raid member becomes contagious and infects any nearby members with Discordant Contagion, which is a stacking disease dealing 600 damage per stack. While this can be dispelled, if your positioning is correct, this debuff should never spread. Another mechanic is an end-all raid wipe that needs to be handled by 2 tanks. This is a stacking debuff called Infecting Strike. One of the 2 tanks will tank Galenir until Infecting Strike reaches 8 stacks. At this point, the second tank should taunt the boss and resume until 8 stacks is reached again. If the debuff reaches 10 stacks, the tank will explode and one-shot your raid. It is crucial for the entire raid to be aware of Galenir's essence transfer, which is announced with Warmaster Galenir begins to steal someone's essence. Whoever this targets needs to immediately stop performing all actions and remain inactive until the buff wears off after 15 seconds. Once the debuff is gone, that person can resume performing actions. If this person performs actions during the debuff, it heals Galenir for 124,562 health, and considering the 5-minute and 30-second range timer, you cannot afford to heal Galenir at all. Your raid's positioning in this fight is crucial and probably the most important part. Once positioning is established, this fight becomes a tank and spank with a few mechanics to keep in check and almost no positional adjustments needed. And finally, here is an example of what your raid will encounter if Warmaster Galenir reaches this enrage. This concludes today's walkthrough for Warmaster Galenir. On behalf of RiftBoss, we wish your raid the best of luck.